Do you think it was a tragedy when Detroit lost their manufacturing? Was that a tragedy?
Tragedy? No.
Yes. Yes, it
No,
was.
no.
There's all these guys lost their jobs, bro. What's wrong with you?
Trade has localized losses, but broad-based benefits. So every consumer in the U.S. is able to get cheaper goods because we import things that we previously used to manufacture in Detroit.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last Canadian trade deal that he just called one of the worst ever was the one that he negotiated during his last term.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, most of the manufacturing jobs are probably not lost due to trade, but were lost due to productivity increases.
Why would anyone deserve output from something they didn't provide any input to?
Also, facilitators.
Society,
Nonfon, you
seems like
forgot.
society is better when we do so. It just seems like
I
that's
don't
a
know.
net utility maximizing thing.
Yeah. I'll let it slide because you're younger than me. We spend a massive amount of money towards the government.
Yeah, any kind of
That's also not
paperwork
true. We
that's
spend
on you.
26% of GDP. That is lower than most other countries as well. If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we're paying taxes and shit's not on lockdown the way it should be, then what the fuck are we paying tax? Like I'd rather as a community, maybe the people that live on my block, like we take care of what we need to take care of in our arena. If the city's not going to take care of it, the state's not going to take care of it, the government's not going to, I think that if with as much as we get charged and butt plugged with taxes to the utmost degree, I think it's kind of pathetic sometimes that like you take one look around certain areas and it's like what the fuck, like what are we doing?
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Hang on, no. I can't let that pass. What do you guys think a tariff is?
A tariff is
If you guys are taxed so much, if you're taxed way too much already and you want to keep more of your money, what in the absolute gigafuck do you guys think a tariff is?
A tariff is a charge that we place on another country whenever they want to sell their product to the U.S.
It's a tax on imported goods that you pay. The importer pays.
You don't
when
have
Best
to pay
Buy
it.
buys
You
10,000
don't have to
Chinese
pay it.
televisions. When
No,
they pick them up
no,
at the port,
no,
you have
bro,
to pay a
no, bro.
tariff. Yes,
A tariff.
yes, that's exactly
a
how it
tariff-
works.
What a tariff does is it makes you buy American-made goods. It's an incentive to buy
What
American-made
is the
goods.
mechanism to that incentive?
The
What are you talking
increased
about?
cost of the imported goods.
Yes.
The payment of the tariff by Americans
Well, only
It's a
if they
tax
buy only
on
if
an
they buy
imported
it.
good.
I remember.
Okay. But the one thing you're missing there is I can choose not to buy these imported goods.
You can choose not to buy the goods that are taxed.
Correct.
You can,
I
you're
remember
lucky
a
if you
time.
can't. I mean,
Hang
so
on,
like, you put a tariff on China, the entirety of Walmart goes up, right?
One at a time.
I
Yeah,
recall
no,
the time.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
Sarah.
that will promote to buy more local, localized.
Yes.
You will buy
Even if,
less.
like,
Your standard of living goes down across the board.
it could.
It
It could.
will. It will. There's no doubt about it.
No, there is a doubt about it. The standard
One
of
at a
living only
fucking
goes
time.
down if the amount that we're saving through Doge is outweighed by the amount that we're paying out in tariffs.
Wait,
Right.
what?
Okay. Want to ask you? Want to ask a question? Want to ask? Just want to ask a question. Just one question, right? So, made in Taiwan, right? How do you feel when you hear "made in Taiwan"? Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you? Made
I
in
feel
the
great.
USA.
I love globalization.
Made in the
It's
US.
based.
Made in the USA. How do you feel?
I don't care.
You're
Product I want-
lying. You're lying, bro.
I'm not.
Tariffs can be used
He's
as
not lying.
equalization.
You think
Like
that
China, if China
He just
uses
doesn't care.
labor, then we put a
I
tariff
recall a
on it.
time when Made in America meant the thing lasts forever. It'll outlive you.
It means that it
And
does.
Made in Taiwan
now
means
it's made in
you know,
China. Have you seen China?
made in
What's up with you
Taiwan.
guys?
I'm
What's
trying
up with you
to
guys?
land this plane. Trying to land this plane.
AJ, let him finish.
Sorry.
There was a time when Made in America means that drill will outlast you and probably your dad.
It
And
does
Made in
not.
Taiwan means, can I finish the fucking point?
Why are you
Made in-
reminiscing about a time? It's gone. That's not it now.
Can I finish the point or not?
Is it just
remember
okay?
that
Take a
time.
trip down memory lane. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. Made in Taiwan means it'll last 1 week after the fucking warranty period.
Is that the whole fucking thought?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
that's
whose
the point.
fault is that?
Oh my god.
Is that Taiwanese people's fault, or is it the fault of the people who exported the jobs that probably look like you, Ozzy?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember.
AJ
Look
bringing
like
his
me, what?
subtle racism in, I see.
Yeah. Look like me. You fucking idiot. People who look white, bro.
Well, I mean, last time I checked, it wasn't Asian or Indian people. We just got a light-skinned black president who a lot of black people don't even think was black. So,
He's going back there
which
again.
Asian
He's going back there again.
Which
It's
Asian
so
people
low-hanging
caused all of
fruit,
these
bro.
manufacturing?
You're
Which
always going to
Asian
low-hanging fruit. Yeah,
Which Asian people?
it's
Which
like you
Asian
seem
people?
intelligent.
Can you
You're
answer
proof.
my question, Ozzy? Okay,
No,
Dingo
I'm
baby.
just gonna say-
Okay, bro. Okay, Dingo baby guy with the kangaroos. Listen, which Asians or Indians or black people exported those manufacturing jobs to these countries that you now think weren't as good as made in America? Simple question. Because last time I checked, it was all white people.
What
No,
the fuck
it
are you
wasn't all
talking
white
about, bro?
people. Hold on. Companies are owned by a whole mix of races. It's stock. We all own some of it.
Don't
If we-
legislate, Flo. It was the
Shut
politicians.
the fuck up, brown man. Give me my white privilege.
Okay.
Thank you. We as the consumer make the ultimate decision, and we also carry the ultimate bag. So if we have opted to purchase cheaper foreign-produced goods, which we have largely, it's because it's what we prefer, what we value. When we are not given that option, when that's removed from an option, we can then buy less goods at a higher cost. That's the only option.
True.
We will. It does. Tariffs do end up coming out of the American consumer, the home country consumer. Yes, the tax is placed on the importer, but it's all passed through to the consumers. So either way, you're having a higher standard of living. So it's wild to me that people who, I think everybody agrees we've got too much taxes, right? But tariffs aren't a way to not pay taxes and have someone else pay them. We still pay them. It's still a tax. Instead of arguing that tariffs are good, we should be saying like, all this shit.
Yet
bad.
another way to
Taxed
shift
too much.
the burden onto the consumer.
Always. Yep.
Yeah, so now that I'm finally set up, can I just answer, what made in Taiwan means to me?
Let me interrupt real quick, and then I'm giving it over to you, Nonfon. I have now set a goal for 10 super chats. If you want to continue beyond 2 a.m., that's in 15 minutes. If we can go for a whole nother hour, I'm happy to do it, but that means you have to hit the goal. All right? If you don't hit the goal, I shut down in 15 minutes, and I'm happy to go home. Nonfon, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so when I hear made in Taiwan, I think that U.S. consumers are getting a better deal. We're able to import something for a lower price, while our own domestic resources are able to do something else, able to do something presumably higher productivity that consumers value more, and that pays people more because higher productivity that's associated with higher wages, and it's an overall win-win.
So can you demonstrate that?
The shoe. You had the shoe. Remember the shoe story you gave, Nonfon?
Is this a Disney movie?
Making shoes versus making something better or doing something better.
I mean, I think I might have used as an example a comparative advantage before, which is, it's also relevant here. But obviously, right, if we're importing something, presumably consumers are choosing to import something because it's cheaper and or higher quality or some combination of the two. It's their preference to buy the imported good. And what that means is obviously we're not producing that good domestically, but the resources that are would have been producing that good domestically are now freed up to do other things.
Like what? Like what? What are you
like
describing?
service sector jobs. We're a big
opportunity
cost.
No. We did it here in Australia.
McDonald's. You get McDonald's.
Australia is so rich. Australia is so rich in resources. We could manufacture everything. We decided to become the intelligent country. We'll make satellites. We'll make and we'll also do tourism.
You guys live on your coast.
Hang on, bro. I'm talking. What's wrong with you, bro?
And AJ, back in the back. This is no.
AJ was right though.
Yes, he still has to sit in the back because the interruptions are driving me nuts. And Ozzy, let me interrupt you for a moment.
For AJ.
You got to buy him back. Trib
Hell
one
no.
with the big 5 says, and actually, I'm going to add Trib ones into the goal, so I'll give you those 2 freebies because you drop these as soon as I drop the goal. Part 1, reality check. America is the way it is because Americans wanted it that way. The chaos happening now is because a minority group has the helm. And then part 2 is, what's the actual end goal for the minority group? What does MAGA want? They want insulation. They don't want diversity. Is that better for America?
How can you say they want isolation when they're at the same time saying they want expansionism by taking over countries?
I mean, I think when it comes to trade, they want
to do it.
They want to make basically everything ourselves. Seems like that's the rhetoric coming from Trump.
Well, we really don't
isolate and expand.
Isolation, though, whenever we're taking in like millions of aliens.
We don't want to make this shit ourselves, though. We know that because nobody wants manufacturing jobs. Not one person on this panel or in the chat is telling me that they have or that they're aspiring to a manufacturing job that they can't find. Not one person.
That is the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life.
Are you looking for a manufacturing job because you feel like it would be an improvement from your current position?
I can tell you that my father-in-law.
Hang on. When I was younger, I'm an old man now. When I was younger, yes.
Okay, the answer is no. There's a lot of people here and a lot of people.
No, the answer is not no. The answer is not no.
I know.
As a younger man,
No, I'm not asking younger man. I'm not asking that, dude.
If I could finish my statement.
You can't finish. You're about to answer something else. I didn't ask that question. I asked you now. You're not looking for one. No, you're not.
There are
not now,
machinist jobs anymore. No. There are no machinist jobs. You can't find a machinist job.
Oh God, Rocky's still here.
No more. Yeah, I'm still here. Okay,
K2,
one of the reasons.
With the big 10. K2, keep on
K2, good to see you, bro.
With the Big 10, the Japanese proved that a nuclear bomb is less deadlier than diversity.
That's why they don't let anybody in their country anymore. You won't find a piece of trash in Japan or a non-Japanese person living in Japan.
Rocky, I'm going to put you backstage for just a second. We got Spicoli on board. This will be short and sweet. It always is. Go ahead, Spicoli. Spicoli. Yeah. Hey, are you high?
I always am. Hey, Losted, I want a manufacturing job.
Mm-hmm.
I have a manufacturing. You know what I like to manufacture? I manufacture and I grow cannabis. I help grow cannabis out here. So is cannabis considered a manufacturing job?
No, if you're a sole proprietor and you have a farm, a grow operation that's yours, you're not somebody who's looking for employment as a manufacturing employee. No, you don't qualify.
Yeah, so
no, I work for people, but cannabis growing is manufacturing. We manufacture weed.
Are you looking for a job snapping cell phones together?
I'm pretty
when
sure
you're 16 years old. When you're 16 years old, yes, you are.
You're gonna have to stick to manufacturing.
Oh my God! When you're 16 in Australia and America, you work at McDonald's or Walmart or Costco. What are you talking about? You don't go into a warehouse and create Apple iPhones for 5 cents a day. There's not suicide.
No, you grow them on your iPhone farm.
There were guys who were running the machines that punch out fucking panels for cars, right? There were guys who were doing that, and they were grateful for it. Yeah, they were grateful for it.
Then why did we move it all overseas?
No, that's
hold on.
Because you wanted cheap shit.
8 minutes.
Okay.
8 minutes to get 6 more in the door, or we all
get up, hurry up and do it so she stops interrupting us.
I will
put in the
keep
donos.
Interrupting for the whole.
I'm doing your job for you faster.
Yeah.
Kieran,
Sarah,
you can't tell me they were thankful for it because I'll tell you they weren't. And we're.
I'm gonna put Dusty and Honkin.
Oh, really?
Sarah,
Really?
Are you still celibate?
Listen, Flo.
I'm gonna put Spicoli backstage for
only until I get a hold of her.
Back up.
When I asked this question of Flo, do you think it was a tragedy when Detroit lost their manufacturing? Was that a tragedy?
Tragedy? No.
Yes, it was. There's all these guys lost their jobs, bro. What's wrong with you?
I have an economics degree.
I think
about things like an economist. I don't think it's a tragedy. I think it's a tragedy that that they weren't efficient enough that they couldn't keep up and compete in a global marketplace. But I don't.
So right now,
manufacturing Detroit isn't what completely
that's the most base thing I've heard Flo ever say.
So real quick,
all right. Since Nonfon, hold on, shut up. Since Nonfon sent in the $10 just to have me say Nonfon for the win, Nonfon, the floor is yours.
Sure. So first of all, we shouldn't even accept the premise that all these jobs were offshored. Another suspect is productivity growth, right? Manufacturing has just gotten increasingly automated during the entire China shock period. Manufacturing output was going up. We were just making more things, but manufacturing employment was going down because we just got better at manufacturing stuff with less workers. So even if you tariff all these things and we try to onshore manufacturing, that's just not going to create many jobs because we are just so efficient at making these things nowadays.
Exactly. Right.
That's bring back manufacturing of the 60s.
Probably, yeah, most of the manufacturing jobs are probably not lost due to trade, but were lost due to productivity increases. The highest estimate I've seen for jobs lost due to trade is 43% versus 60% to productivity increases. There might be other factors as well, obviously, but additionally, I mean, we say is it a tragedy where because Detroit lost everyone in Detroit lost their jobs? Well, in a sense, yes, but we have to think about the nation as a whole, right? So trade has localized losses, but broad-based benefits. So every consumer in the U.S. is able to get cheaper goods because we import things that we previously used to manufacture in Detroit. Now, obviously, there are losers from trade in that people in Detroit lost their jobs, but overall, the country as a whole wins. There are more winners than losers. What we need is probably a better tax system and redistribution system to take, from the winners and give to the losers if we want a more equal society, if we want those people to not be totally screwed over.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
I would argue some other things happened to Detroit.
I just wanted to ask you, don't you think that the innovative corporate entities kind of changed the market in the sense that when product innovation became so core here in the United States, especially, that the engineering or the manufacturing aspect would have been more cheap to export, so it would then in turn be more profitable for those innovative companies? I feel like you're missing out on that point because there's a lot of Americans in these what we call flyover states that are upset that they're not getting paid simply because they'd get paid more or have medical, dental, vision insurance. And instead you can have these jobs exported to people who you don't have to pay a fraction of the employment wages, right? So I feel like what you said is entirely accurate, but again, we're missing out on how we kind of just shafted the people here.
And before anybody answers that, K2 Keep on Trucking comes in with a big 5 just to say, how about all the people that look signing up for manufacturing jobs at GM and Jeep in Toledo?
Yeah, so okay, I'll follow up on that, and I'll also respond to AJ and to Nonfon. So imagine you're 16 years old. Imagine you're a 16-year-old boy. You're coming through high school. You aren't academically gifted. You have an opportunity to earn a living for your family, your future wife and children, by working in a factory, stamping out panels for GM or Ford or whatever, and they took that away from you.
That's an irrelevant point, though, because most manufacturing
It's not irrelevant, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not irrelevant.
No, most factory jobs aren't going to let 16-year-olds on the line. That's firstly. Just safety concerns.
Insurance issues.
Yeah. How do I explain to you, you say they took it away from you. They, in a lot of cases, is productivity increases, us getting better at making stuff. And that's an amazing thing. That's how growth happens. That's how increases in wealth happen. That's an amazing thing. Obviously, there are localized losses from automation in the same way. There are localized losses from trade because trade is just another type of technology. Trade is old. Trade is
trade isn't everything. Trade isn't everything.
Directly produce the things that
we
first produced.
Stop interrupting him.
And then sorry. So yeah, just like there are localized losses from technology, there are localized losses from trade because trade is just a form of technology. It's just a way to indirectly produce things that we import by producing things that we're more efficient at and exporting them, and then using the foreign currency to pay for things to import. And actually, there's a basic comparative advantage model that shows there are both countries gain from trade, meaning both countries end up with more of the goods that they want than they could if they just made everything themselves.
For sure. That's
I'll respond to that. Nonfon. I'll respond with an Australian example. We make great wine over here in Australia, the most underrated wine in the world. We won awards for everything. We had salesmen went to France and said, buy our wine. And they said, why? And we said, because it's better than yours. And they said, yeah, but if we buy your wine, we're going to shut down all these communities who make wine over here. So no, thank you. They could have made a buck. They could have, hang on, they could have got good quality wine at a cheap price, but they said no to save their communities.
No,
So
they just
that's
held their
different.
communities back and prevented their communities from getting more efficient. You wouldn't bring back blacksmiths because there's so many good blacksmithing jobs for kids.
Yeah.
This is how innovation works.
You support slave labor.
I support your mom.
Oh, Lord.
We all support slave labor. We're all talking through these devices.
Yeah.
Tariffs are also used in competition when a country uses slave labor and Americans aren't allowed to use slave labor.
Rocky, it does not free the slaves. All this does, it does two things. Tariffs do two things. At the end of the day, they increase consumer prices.
Slavery.
They increase consumer prices for the domestic country, and they increase government revenue for the domestic country. However,
They also do a third thing.
Shut
They do
up.
a third-
They increase
they do a
domestic.
third thing.
They increase government revenue less than they increase consumer prices. So it's a net loss. Not all of that loss is recaptured somewhere else. There's just straight loss that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The third thing tariffs do, is they make America great again.
You're so dumb. Stay in Australia.
No, I'm coming to America. I'm coming to America.
No, the only point of the tariffs is to offset the near $4 trillion they're about to give away to rich people in tax cuts.
And they're not even going to raise that much revenue, but yeah.
FG, here's my question to you. All the smart people like you, FG, why don't you guys run for office? Why don't you guys fix our country?
Why don't you fuck off?
Oh, here's the Aussie guy coming in.
We're
overtaxed.
The invasion of privacy it takes to run for office.
Everybody in this country
like
is
the privacy.
overtaxed.
Public life is,
I don't believe that.
not for some people.
Well, defined overtax.
Define overtax.
And-
All right,
Well,
I can.
Fiery Patriot comes in with a big 2, says 4 doors more. If you know, you know.
I don't know.
Saint comes in with another 2. Next one for the back in 2 minutes. You choose. Panel, take a vote. Who do you want to send it back?
No, you choose. Cheater ass.
It's gonna be AJ. He's getting on my nerves.
Man,
Casey, keep
AJ's my
on
dog. I just brought.
It's only 2 minutes.
AJ's okay. AJ's okay.
I missed you, AJ.
He's
good value.
interrupting everyone. K2, keep on trucking with the big 5. When your car comes from Mexico, almost Mexican shit in them when they're on the rail from the car hauler friends. What?
Don't know what that means.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know what that means. But K2, love you, brother.
I appreciate the $5. Team Phillip going ahead and completing the goal for us for the evening. Thank you so much with the tomato. And K2 keep on trucking says, I mean homeless Mexicans riding the rails. So when your car comes in from Mexico and the homeless Mexicans riding the rails are shitting in them on the way in.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And I get to choose one more. Rocky, since you are kind of useless on this panel. And since
Okay.
Since we hit the goal, you guys bought the final hour. We're going to move the final hour over to the gauntlet.
Well, I'm going to be really random. Conversation for another day, because we're almost finished now. I would love to hear from Nonfon about his work history and academic history. I would just, no shade. I'm just curious because opinions are based on experience and knowledge, and I've heard his knowledge. I'd like to hear his experience. Maybe not now.
You guys always ask for each other's credentials.
Weird credentialism, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yes,
address your
credentials, yes.
credentials before you ask other people their credentials, because it's kind of obnoxious, you know? Let's be honest. Because once people address their credentials, you judge them for that.
He's trying to make an appeal to authority. That's why.
No, I'm not. I'll do it.
That's what it is. Like that's by definition what you're trying to do. It's like, I know more than you because I've done this thing.
So experience isn't a thing?
Experience is a thing, but you're saying I know more than you, other than like
you just refuted your own argument, bro.
Well, no,
experience,
I'm saying
experience is a thing, except
yes, experience is a thing. It's not the only thing that can influence how you're making a decision or how you're.
I never said that. I said experience and knowledge.
Exactly. So knowledge is higher than your experience
and knowledge. Is it really? Is knowledge? So Sarah, is knowledge higher than experience?
I think it depends on where you're placing that measurement. Like, I'm gonna mute. Whose doggy is?
Yeah, it's mine.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you for a second because I love doggies, but that one's kind of going off a little bit. And again, we closed down the Raging Tomato sign, so hopefully you're all making the move over. I think that experience is very important when it comes to, like, especially making decisions. Like, I think that's vital in decision making. Certainly you can have knowledge, but when you experience something and you can learn from your past and yada yada and apply that to a current scenario, I think experience is very important. But if I'm going to take a test, my experience doesn't fucking matter. Like, I want to have the knowledge to do so.
Yeah. You can know all about how to have sex, but that don't mean you're going to be good at it when you try it the first time.
What if I know a lot about trade? What if I read a lot about trade economics?
Well, I actually came back to address you and Flo about this, because I'm not a rocket surgeon like you guys. So
rocket surgeon.
What the fuck is a rocket surgeon?
I don't even know how to speak. I'm so stupid. But it's just, I understand the words that you're saying, but when you're taking when we're all working, like, I hear we're all gonna be globalists and we're gonna work together, but I'm also hearing, there are enemies. Doesn't really seem like this is for my benefit. I don't really give a fuck about any of you people, right? You're just my ant farm. I don't give a fuck about none of you. I think it's funny to come up here, make a few jokes. It's great, but I really don't care if any of you live or die or anything to talk about to the end, right? Dude, I listen to you guys talk for 7 hours about nonsense. You just don't like that I'm saying words that are making you listen. So shut the fuck up, and you're being taught by a master right now, all right? I understand the words you're saying. The problem is, when you're taking and you're giving all these other people the innovation, you're going to say it's instrumentation and innovation that's changing things. And they can't keep up, but that's very heartless, right? So then you condemn communism, but isn't that just a type of techno-communism, right? And then if that's the choices and that's the type of thing that you're telling a 16 or 18-year-old coming out of high school, well, you just need to do better. Well, then there's not really any reason to try, and they might as well just burn it all down.
In the record sense, man, I just say you commies or you're a bunch of communists because it's like an old running American joke, right? People from the nuclear era, they grew up with like little bunkers in their backyard, and it was like, the Russians are coming, the Russians. You're muted, Flo.
I was going to say easy jihad.
No, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's very heartless
to tell. Say, like, you're a communist. It's just a funny ongoing.
I'm saying it's very heartless to tell an 18-year-old that's just too bad. You don't get to have the same job as, and then it's learn to code. And it's like, okay, well then let's just burn it all down then.
Why don't they learn to forge?
I'll say
because I'm willing to go with whichever way you guys want, right, Flo? So you say that, right? You say, it's about technology and advancement and blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you know what? Know what I advocate for? Shutting off all old age pension and welfare completely. Zero. And
hold on.
Why? I'll say this.
Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait.
Right, you guys don't like that, right? So
real quick.
Go ahead, Nonfon.
Yeah, so I want to address.
You have a social safety net.
You kind of touched on this point. So I will say, despite me being a globalist or whatever, like obviously America has enemies, and there are national security limitations to trade. So, I mean, no one wants trade in nuclear weapons, right? Like we don't want free trade in certain areas. And there are certain times where maybe we don't want chip manufacturing to be in Taiwan because that's a whole national security issue. Because what if China invades Taiwan? Chips are very important for our military and for, I mean, basically everything we make nowadays, right? So there's a national security exception. Secondly, this might get into the, old people pension thing as well. I mean, I'm an American. I care what's best for America, right? And usually I'm looking what is best for America on net. So literally any policy is going to have some winners and some losers, right? And I think there will be some losers from trade. And I will stress again, a lot of these jobs weren't lost due to trade. They were lost due to productivity enhancements. But there will be people who won't be able to get a manufacturing job because of free trade. That's just overall a net benefit from the nation because of the other things that free trade allows us to do. Now, in my ideal system, we would have a tax system and redistribution system that would make sure even the losers from trade do actually end up, at least in a decent enough situation. Like no one is going homeless because I'd probably have some type of like negative income tax, some type of welfare system for these people. But overall, I just think trade is good for the nation as a whole.
It is good. It's what the free market shows that we want. That's why we buy imports. We choose that every day. So to say that it's not good for us as if it's an abstraction doesn't make any sense. We literally make the choice every day to buy imports when we could also make the choice to just do without a lot and buy more expensive American products instead that are frequently worse quality.
Worse quality? So just one question.
Don't fight me on this. I don't give a fuck if you think.
Hang on.
What?
Hang on. I've been quiet. I've been listening. Just want to ask Nonfon. I'm going to pull the experience. No, I'm going to pull the experience card.
Buy some slave labor microphone.
Bro, can I just?
I know. You gotta knock. Are you let me ask you this, Ozzy. Are you using like the earbud with a wire?
Just no. I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone.
Sasquatch taught me it's some kind of problem with StreamYards recently. You got to go into you can fix it. He fixed mine the other day. Go in and your settings, turn off the noise cancellation.
I got it. Yeah. Now try talking.
Speaking of settings, your shit is turned up like crazy.
123 testing 123.
It's not by design.
A little better.
Am I good? Okay. Nonfon. Thank you, Sarah. Nonfon. Just going to pull the experience card. Have you ever had a callus on your hand or your feet?
Yeah.
You have? By doing what?
Yeah, I used to rock climb a little bit, and I was really good at monkey bars as a kid and everything. So, yeah, I used to have
I mean from work.
Yeah, I mean last week.
From work?
I mean from work. Yeah, from work. You ever got calluses on your hands or your feet?
I have, and I agree with him. So ask me the question.
Ask you what question?
You're going to try to point out that he doesn't have calluses, so he doesn't know. You're going to use that to discredit him. I have worked in concrete for years. I also have an econ degree. I also agree with him on everything except for the redistribution shit. So you could ask me the same question, and it won't work.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will.
Okay, I've had calluses. Go ahead. Actually,
you're making my point.
Feeling in the tip of my fingers from concrete.
You're making my point. You're making my point.
What's the point?
With all due respect, I appreciate Flow State's opinion more than Nonfon's. With all due respect,
even though they have the same opinion.
Okay,
same opinion. Yeah, but based on what?
Dude, you're being disrespectful, and I'm
the guy. I don't mind being disrespectful. I don't give a fuck about being disrespectful.
All right, well, we don't give a fuck about you wasting everyone's time to check credentials.
My opinion is based on.
Okay, well, maybe I'll.
My opinion is that we're all playing here on YouTube. What's that say at 3:00 in the fucking morning?
It says,
have you ever masturbated a penis? Then I don't respect your opinion.
What
kind of nonsense was that
you just said, sir? Sexual things. Why do you always have to bring it back to grotesque?
No, I wanted to hear the answer to that.
Well, I'll ask this question.
You don't understand how stupid what I just said was.
Yeah, but I was going to allow the language answer to get the story.
Okay, I'll ask Sarah a question. Do you think back to before, is experience equal with knowledge?
Oh my God.
Or does no? Come on,
kick him off this panel.
I thought I already answered this pretty clearly earlier. That I think it also depends on what you're applying that to, right? If I was, for instance, working concrete, I probably would seek guidance from a person who's worked concrete for 20 years, right? Because they not only do they have the knowledge, of what they're doing, but they have the experience to go behind it as well. And they have learned along the way, like, yeah, the directions say this, but every time we do this, this happens. So we're not going to do that. Whereas knowledge is also still very important when it comes to being able to, I think in terms of, like, if I had to write out an opinion on something, or I had to research, like even having knowledge is the ability to research the information in order to develop an opinion. I think knowledge is very important. The experience comes into play, knowing that if I'm writing a dissertation about, let's say, I don't know, economics of some sort, and knowing what I'm writing it towards and how I need to write it in order to keep that teacher happy so that I can get an A. That's the experience that comes into play.
Or even like, Sarah, you're familiar with the military. You have a lot of officers who right out of college or military school, they get into military academy.
They're total retards.
Right? And then you have drill sergeants who've been grinding from day one, and they know how to run a whole platoon. Multiple platoons for that matter, but they don't get the same credibility. So yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, so when Flowstake said I got my calluses on my hands from concreting, and Nonfon said I got mine from the monkey bars in high school, which guy are you going to listen to more?
I don't think that, like, for Nonfon,
look.
Hold on, you asked me. Hold on, Nonfon. For Nonfon, he is speaking with knowledge. Like he's our like resident nerd. Okay, this guy can research, write, citate, whatever, anything. Like my belief of him, my understanding of Nonfon, and my experience with Nonfon is more than likely he's not just going to come out here and say something without having done some research behind it. I presume that. I could be totally wrong. Nonfon has me pegged for a sucker for 19-year-old nerds. All right, but in the event that like you want experience in terms of how to apply that information, then I think that's where Powder Dusty comes into place, because Flo's coming from a place of I've been there, I've done that, I see it, I know it, and even he is telling you like having calluses on your hands for this particular argument doesn't fucking matter, and he's experienced enough in both worlds, in economics and concrete pouring, that he's telling you this information doesn't matter. So now you have the best of both worlds telling you you're a total fucking moron. Now what do you have to say to that?
I'm a total fucking moron. Is that the point of what you're saying?
You have the knowledge, absolutely. And you definitely have the experience, both telling you you're stupid. I think the Flo only disagreed on one small piece, like the distribution, which I agree with as well. I think distribution is a bit and a half, but you have these two people telling you the answer, and now you're trying to appeal to discredit them. And
I'm not really.
Well, then what's the fucking point?
They're both wrong.
What's the point okay, but you are appealing you are appealing to something that's completely out of the world on like, oh, well, let me dismantle your credentials. Do you have callus on your hand? It was like, when did that ever win a fucking argument?
I didn't say that. I said knowledge and experience both matter, and I was asking about how should we weigh them? 80%, 20%, 70, 30, 60, 40. I was just asking.
Did I tell you that it depends on the applicability of what you're doing?
Yeah,
and I agree.
Change what either of them are saying.
Ozzy and Sarah, would you both agree that experience brings knowledge?
Yeah,
and bring knowledge.
And knowledge.
Yes, but knowledge does not bring experience.
I think it can.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the difference. I
think knowing that the stove is hot and I'm being informed you shouldn't put your hand on that can save me from a bad experience, right?
So Luigi Mangione,
what we have right here.
Luigi Mangione just offed a book smart dude, right? CEO of a medical company. So we got the terms book smart, street smart in America. Why is that? Because you can know everything about this earth history, how things work, trading, coding, medical science, jurisprudence, whatever it is, engineering. But if you don't understand how human behaviorology works, if you don't understand how society works, if you're not street smart, you might as well get killed, right? So excuse my language, but I think that's the point there is experience, even though knowledge isn't advantageous, experience will bring about something that knowledge doesn't have. Whereas knowledge will give you an advantage, but survivalism is something experience gives. Knowledge doesn't teach you how to survive.
Also,
Good
you're kind of
evening.
making you're kind of making a compositional fallacy because you're basically saying that young/inexperience will always equal incorrect.
True. I just real quick, like, I don't think experience matters for the type of claim that I'm making, which is like all rooted in, economic theory. Like, it's not really
right. It's all math. Yeah. No, and anything I said had nothing to do with you, by the way. If you remember, what I said was everything you said is entirely accurate. I just think it's become a mainstream trend to disregard how the middle class, which founded small businesses, founded what we know now as corporate elitism in the world, which is in America. It runs the world. We have just kind of disregarded the fact that the middle class are now like being forsaken for what? For sweatshops in China, for sweatshops in China for my Nikes and my iPhone. Like
the problem is you're not going to get a small business.
This is what child slave labor is getting me, an $800 iPhone. This is what we're talking about. That's all I'm saying.
I think trade is a net benefit to the middle class and also
children. Yeah, but do you know what the markup is on an iPhone?
It's a lot.
4,000%.
And that was my next point, Effigy. This is why I freaking love you, Effigy. But like, you call me crazy. I've never said that to you, bro. But like, this is why I love you, Effigy, because that's my next point. If you're gonna be an American and you want to pay for domestic produced products, then get ready to pay for that markup. You want to pay $2,000 for an iPhone? You want to pay $1,000 for a pair of shoes? Go for it. And I know Grumples is in here already making the faces because he's gonna check me and cook me. But let's just be real about the reality of producing everything in-house. It's going to get more expensive, and are we willing to pay that price?
No, I agree.
Those are relative, but thanks for bringing me up, because without getting into the tariffs conversation quite yet, just the framing of it right now, we're not, I think the entire conversation is what it usually is not knowledge versus experience, because experience is lived, like knowledge that you gain from living and doing stuff. It's education versus experience is the argument that we're talking about. Whether you gain your knowledge via a book and not doing it versus doing it yourself. And that's a little tweak. Also, just a little quick fun fact. So as a funsy fact, all Toyota Tundras and most Tacomas are made in Texas. Some of them are made in Mexico.
Yeah.
And this is because of a tariff that existed because of chickens that also was a 25% tariff on importing light duty trucks and that type of vehicle. That's why we can't have the Hilux in the United States unless they're antiques. That's why the Mahindra diesel midsize pickup truck is not ever going to be sold in the United States, because it's not financially viable to do so. That's why the Ford Transit, I forget which one's which, the Ford Transit or Connect, their van, they're like, their commuter van, it's imported as a passenger vehicle into the United States. They're manufactured overseas, then imported to the United States, then converted back into a cargo van because of that tariff, to avoid the 25% tariff. So the tariffs, I mean, there's a lot of, there's ways to move around it, but the tariffs, that chicken tax, the Fat Electrician has a great video on it, very entertaining, about the chicken tax and why we can't have the Hilux in the United States. Go watch his, that'll explain it perfectly. But that tariff from what was it, in the 60s, 70s? That's why we have U.S. manufacturing of Toyota trucks. So it created jobs. Toyota USA has jobs and manufacturing onshore because, Nonfon, you can shake your head no all day long.
The cost of other jobs, so you have to consider the opportunity.
You can shake your head no all day long, but we can't import the Hilux and bet we'll make trucks in the United States.
That has an opportunity cost. That reduces consumer income. That also taxes exports, because the tax on imports is
You're reducing consumer income by having more jobs in the United States? How does that work?
by tariffing things, which reduces consumers after tax income. Yes.
No, see, they're just not imported because the tariff it costs too much to make it worth selling them in the United States. So they didn't.
In which case, the American good is more expensive than the alternative overseas slave labor produced good, which still reduces consumer income. Yes, and also again, you appreciate exchange rates, which reduces our ability to export.
If you want to talk about forex rates, I mean that's fine. But didn't just I mean I know the premise of this all is the the United States and possible tariffs, which might be just bargaining chips. It might just be a art of the deal kind of stuff, but didn't Trump say, hey, if you have
bargaining
any US
chips
presence,
that tank the market?
Didn't Trump say, hey, if you have any manufacturing presence in the United States, you're not going to get tariffed? Because I'm not all the way up to speed on what the most
he said a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, he does say a lot of things, but where stuff lands, right? That's kind of what you got to judge.
I don't know if he said that after the election. I feel like after the election, he's only really said like we're going to tariff everything from Canada and Mexico, 25%, 50%, and then kind of has
on his emotional state of the day.
Yeah,
and then now we're
NAFTA, USMCA. Those weren't necessarily great for us, but I mean, bargaining.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last Canadian trade deal that he just called one of the worst ever was the one that he negotiated during his last term.
I don't doubt that. That sounds about right.
Oh, yeah, you're sitting here hyping all this shit as though this guy's playing 5D chess on us all, and then you're like, oh yeah.
Oh no, I'm not
a
giant. No, I voted for him, but I'm not a giant Trump fan. No, please don't get it twisted.
But you just hyped it.
Like even the lesson,
I observed the current state and things that he said, and then said that my observation.
Wait, hang on. I got an animation just for you, Grumble.
Oh, please, animations. I love it. You get smoke horns. I love it.
Yeah, oh no, that's really cool.
Even
this screaming into the night.
No, I love it.
Even this 5D chess and negotiation strategy, like has its drawbacks, right? Businesses don't like uncertainty. They really don't like when they don't know what's going to be tariffed and when it's going to be tariffed. No one has any clue if the tariffs on April 2nd are actually going to come, or if they're going to be walked back, or if some goods are going to be tariffed and some tariffs aren't. We don't know what tariffs are going to be on. That reduces consumer confidence and that reduces business investment. That's part of the reason why the GDP forecast, if you look at it, it's negative. Now, I really doubt it'll actually end up being negative. There's like a very technical reason why it looks negative. But GDP almost certainly will be almost stagnant because of the whole threat of tariffs. Like part of the reason the stock market was dipping, it's climbing back up now. But part of the reason the stock market dipped was because of the announcement of tariffs and the uncertainty around tariffs.
Which I mean, yeah, that I don't disagree at all. But it seems that you're talking about things that are very short term. Short term versus what I'm talking about is long term. Like, how long it took between the tariffs the tariff on imported vehicles between the time when, hey, yeah, they can't import Hiluxes and when Toyota started manufacturing trucks in the United States. The Tundra started in Indiana, by the way, for the first couple of years. Then they moved manufacturing to Texas.
I think the long term effects are also negative, but
yeah, they are.
Well, I mean,
because this isn't just tariffs in a vacuum, right? This is tariffs compounded with us like blowing up all of our alliances at the same time, and people moving, and American boycotts happening for the first time since I don't know when in ally countries. Like,
yeah, it's because refugee
we're removing our soft power around the world.
The argument is with this radical, I guess you could call it MAGA movement, right? Whatever it's controversial. It is what it is. Love it or hate it. But the argument is that the United States has essentially been, the pillar for the world's security and economy post World War II, and now it's not our job anymore. That's kind of their argument, ultimately, why they're doing all of this radical economical shifting, and why should we be paying
they want to keep everything the same here.
Yeah,
they think it's going to stay the same. They think it's all going to be the same.
Just imagine looking after yourself. What a crazy concept.
Was it? Wait. It was you, by the way, Dusty, that said you agreed with me on tariffs, except for the redistribution part, right?
Well, I agree with your perspective on basically the things we're talking about. I disagree on your desire to redistribute wealth. It's interesting that you have a free market and also redistributive perspective, because those two normally are at odds with each other.
Non-fon's great.
I think it's fair to say that like the free market is, works in most cases, but like obviously I think the free market, because it only distributes income to people who based on only provides income to people who either contribute labor or capital, who contribute to factors of production. People who don't contribute factors to production, whether because they're disabled or they're too old.
Why would anyone deserve output from something they didn't provide any input to?
Also, facilitators.
Like society, seems like society is better when we do so. It just seems like that's a net utility maximizing thing.
Yeah, I'll let it slide because you're younger than me.
Wait, what's the issue with what I just said? I don't think it's at all. I don't think it's at all like that.
Were you born after 9/11?
Yeah, I'm 19.
It's because it's
okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Because I think you underestimate how much a lot of people just legitimately suck.
Well, those of us who were born pre 9/11, we kind of really our trust issues. Let's just say we were in a very toxic relationship with our mainstream upbringing. So us millennials, we kind of have a very, I guess you could say, disingenuous perception on what the government's doing. Especially
would you get rid of Social Security? Well, I also understand what theft is.
Well, you could define. I understand you can define like taxes and redistribution to be theft, but then I would just say theft isn't bad, because my position is that
it is.
A lot of these,
how you can in a democracy, though.
A lot of these, like welfare systems are just net utility maximizing, in that like society as a whole, overall utility is maximized when we distribute.
That's the argument. I disagree that that's the result. And morally, I don't see how anybody can say, "Well, you created this, but I deserve it." It does. It's a nonsense.
Well, it's
Nonfon. This is why I brought up GameStop to you, right? This is why I brought up GameStop, because I don't know if you've seen The Big Short. A lot of us have. It's got Christian Bale in it, Steve Carell from The Office, right? It's one of the greatest movies ever.
It explains the actual thing.
Yeah, he's super underrated director. Adam McKay is awesome, but
we're doing movie reviews.
He also did Vice, which was about Dick Cheney. So
oh my god, I could not care less.
And you get to the point, though, AJ.
But, okay, I'm trying. The reality is, when you have such blind faith in a market that you think is just coincidental, don't you think the corruption, especially the caught-out corruption in the past that people have benefited from, should be, put into question when we talk about how the free market is going into its direction today? Like,
I don't think I'm the one with blind faith in the market. I'm the one arguing against the market.
Yeah, that would feed into Nonfon's argument.
I would also say that The Big Short had nothing to do with corruption. It's more about moral hazard.
Right.
Capitalistic wants will push you past where morals should make you stop.
Right, but I think you guys are missing my point. You have Nonfon saying that the free market is the market today because it's free, right? And we have to acknowledge it. And I think, I don't know, I can't speak for other people on the panel, but what I'm saying is there is a clear agenda or a narrative that has been pushed in these markets through fraudulent behavior. Fraudulent behavior that has gone without criminal prosecution for decades on end. Right. So it's like, this is where we need to start understanding that the market in itself is a fallacy. It's not a real market. It's not a real.
So are you talking about the stock market? If you're talking about share prices, that's a bit different from like consumer markets
or yeah.
Any company that's open to have, people trade or invest is going to be on the stock market. But when I'm talking about the market, I'm talking about your local farmers market. I'm talking about your local mom and pop shop, right?
Yeah. Okay, what's the question?
So it's like, the question is this: if Haji at your local 7-Eleven has to pay $11 per pack of smokes and charge $12.95, and he's only making $1.30, like we're talking about a time where people would say they could get this stuff for $0.25. So it's
would
like,
you say
at this point, is it inflation or is it delusion of the market itself?
It's inflation.
Would you say also we're tax maxing right now? Can I use some brain rot?
Not tax maxing.
Zoomer
I mean,
lingo.
I
live in California. If you're going to tell me my government's not tax maxing, my state government.
I mean, California, I understand it's high taxes, but like as a whole, the U.S. tax as percentage.
That's false. If you look, if you even taxes out,
it's objectively true. Anyone could look this up. The U.S. taxes as a percentage of GDP is lower than the OECD average of the other developed countries. That is true.
Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. That's a fine metric. That doesn't matter at all. If you look historically at the amount that can be extracted from citizens through taxes, we're at the breaking point. If the population as a whole gets taxed at much higher of a rate, that's when societies decline. It's about a 70%.
Ow.
Right, but also this is what we're talking about. Blind faith here. You just compared.
We've also been shifting the burden onto the lower classes the whole time, though.
You just compared.
It's not 70% tax. It's 70% value.
At the breaking point for
tax.
Not
again. Flow state. Okay. Read it.
My doll hairs. Thank you, James, for putting 2 more in back.
No, but this is what I mean about blind faith, right? Because you're talking about statistical comparisons to countries who per capita and even their socialized Medicare, all this stuff has nothing to do with a country with over 300 million people that have way more diversity, that have way more non-fun. You do realize there is no country.
This as a percentage of GDP. It's not that. I understand.
Okay, so does China or India, or Russia tax their people more than the United States does? Because you're now comparing us to Norway or Sweden or England or Ireland, which, yes, they tax their people 50 to 60% of their net worth per year, but they also have socialized medicine.
Wait, Norway's all white people. Guns. Are we talking about taxing white people more right now?
And they also have like 20, 30 million, maybe 50 million people per country.
We're talking about the total amount of productivity that goes towards government. So that includes not just income tax, not just sales tax, but every incremental increase in sales tax it takes to get a pencil from wood and graphene or whatever it is into
graphite,
a finished product. It includes licenses, it includes tariffs, all these things. We spend a massive amount of money towards the government.
Yeah, any kind of paperwork
true. We spend 26% of GDP. That is lower than most other countries as well.
What
the U.S. government, the federal government is the biggest employer on earth.
You sound like you haven't actually.
Federal government is absolutely not the
Okay, hold on. When you say 26%, do you acknowledge that our GDP? Hold on, guys. Do you acknowledge that our GDP represents almost half of the world's GDP? Do you acknowledge that?
Our GDP, I don't think our GDP is half the world's GDP.
Oh my gosh.
We do have the highest.
So you're gonna sit here and tell me the United States of America isn't the wealthiest nation in the world on the contention of its GDP?
Most debt. It's not wealth, it's debt.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because if I have credit and if I have the Federal Reserve printing out money and now we got Bitcoin, it's all good. We can keep it pushing. We can keep it pushing, bro.
Bitcoin trash.
No, non-fun. It's ridiculous because I think what you're trying to compare.
I agree that you. One of the richest countries in the world. That's why I'm looking at it as a percent of GDP, as a percent of how big the tax base is, as a percent of how many things the country produces, and everything that you can tax. We spend less than other countries, than a lot of other countries, than Norway, than Sweden, than almost every European country has taxes and spending as a higher percentage of GDP.
You said if you were born in 2005, right?
And all of them perform worse. Like all of them have worse performing economies.
On what metric? It depends.
Well, definitely. I wasn't going to suggest that one. All of them are in bigger financial.
I think you guys are understating. Go ahead, Flo.
I'm not convinced that Norway's in a bigger financial crisis than us, but
it's never going to be in a bigger financial crisis than us. It's never going to be.
Norway invested the government funds into their oil, if I remember the country correctly, and they don't allow people to immigrate in to tap into that.
I don't know.
That's like saying China's going to have a population crisis or India. You guys, we are literally living off of credit and military prowess. At this point, our children are fit. We're ranking non-fun. People your age and younger than you are ranking 13th, 14th in basic arithmetic, sciences, history, English, language arts. So we need to really acknowledge the fact that the elite in this country run the world, but the majority of the people in this country have no idea what the fuck's going on. And you're trying to sit here and convince us that the market is sporadic because it's coincidental. Am I right or am I wrong?
I don't know what claims are wrong at this point. So the reason we started this is because I was arguing in favor of some type of welfare system, some type of redistribution to take from the winners and give to the losers from the free market, essentially.
No, fuck them, they lost.
That's initially, basically what I was arguing.
It turns poverty
into sidetracked into basically, how much can the U.S. government spend.
But do you recognize how redistributive systems then turn poverty into an industry in and of itself.
Yeah, can I just say one thing for a second here?
Talk about
So the average,
already an industry.
The average income in Canada, I believe, is like 65,000, something like that. I don't even remember, something like that. But whatever. I think it's a lot less than that. But I'm just being. And then it goes, oh, and here's how much an immigrant with their spouse and 3 children can have from the social system. And that's not including going to the hospital with their public medical benefits. And it's like $80,000 to $87,000 per year we give them.
I remember what you're talking about, but it wasn't spouse. They couldn't be married in order to get to that number, and it was
okay. Whatever it was, but it's like $80-something thousand.
I remember what you're talking. Right? I remember this. I remember.
So I get what the uncle is saying there, right? I really, really do. And then Flo, I feel a little disrespected today by Flo and Rizla, but maybe they're just having a bad day. But that's okay. Flo, you completely disregarded me earlier when I said I think that all social welfare systems should be eradicated, and then you kind of scoffed at me. I must have missed
it, buddy. I've been checking out of this stream more than normal.
It's just, I understand maybe for like a blind person, that's what Flo's saying here, right? Because like I have a blind and deaf aunt. I can understand why she would get social assistance, right? But I know thousands of people over the past 30 years, literally thousands. I know a lot of people that are on social assistance or SSI, whatever, depending on the country, because society.
Is this a flex?
Physically disabled person.
I have no idea.
Disabled person that doesn't get any benefits.
10th man is definitely on a list. He's on a list in Canada. It's just.
I'm on all the lists. I'm the prime minister.
I mean, if you're saying like disabled people should get paid.
Your phone.
I was muted. I mean, like, obviously, I mean, it seems like...
Okay, you can unmute yourselves now.
Based.
I'm curious for Flow State's answer. Would he be okay with disabled people getting payments?
No, Flo just explained it to you. I was trying to tie into what he was saying and also get my voices. What I'm saying is, like he said, it turns it into an industry. So that was his response, and then I explained to you how it can get out of control.
We could turn disabled people into cat food.
Well, no, we know what life was like before we had Social Security, right? We had poor houses, you had almshouses. Like, there's a reason that it's the most successful program the government's ever done.
Flo, we also turn the government into poor people.
That's quite a claim.
We have giant people dying
from elderly poverty. If that's like something you care about,
I would say the interstate system has been more successful.
That's fine. You think that Social Security has been effective?
Again, why do you think
Security is massively upside? Social Security is a mathematical disaster. Just because it worked on the front end,
effective at reducing elderly poverty.
A single one-line bill will fix Social Security.
It's not sustainable.
Do you think that Social Security has been effective at reducing elderly poverty? I just want to answer that question.
I would just like to remove the interstates from this conversation.
Sure, on the front end. But
right.
What?
Can we just remove the interstates from this conversation? Because you know damn well that was because of Dwight E. Eisenhower to mobilize the military. That's why we have great highways in this country, some of the best in the world. Okay? War.
Wait, why can we build interstates? Why are you entitled to tax away people's money just to build interstates? So it doesn't violate the NAP? What the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Well, at that time, it was a matter of being, are we going to speak German or are we going to...
This message is sponsored in part by...
Yeah, I have an issue with all the taxes. Why don't you go feed a homeless person? Why don't you go ladle lentil soup into their fucking starving ass mouth?
You know what? I give them dollars all the time.
You don't do shit, do you?
An individual doing this can have a big effect on the whole of society. Like these systems only work.
You can't
everyone
do shit. Everybody else has to. What's the last thing you donated?
The United States weaponized roads.
What's the last thing you donated to?
a charity called the Shrimp.
Well, now you're making Aussie's dumb arguments.
Me. And that last thing Nonfon donated to was me.
That's true.
Ooh, that's a charity donation.
It doesn't care. That's not a charity
Now, when
donation.
you guys talk homeless, like here's the thing.
She's not a 501c.
Wait, real quick. So the last charity I donated to was a charity, you should all look it up, called the Shrimp Welfare Project. They help out a lot of shrimp. It's a really funny charity. Anyway,
You're kidding me.
Basically,
okay. So I live in Los Angeles.
Hold on. Do you know what?
treadmills?
Let me go gross for a minute. Do you know what shrimping is sexually?
Actually, no.
I learned this the other day. Me and two other friends were sitting there at dinner talking about all sorts of random stuff, and somehow we got on the notion of shrimping. Although it was brought to the table as a description of something gross that you do, and then we're like, "What the hell do you even call that?" And one of them actually texts her husband. She's like, "He'll know." Text him the description, and he seconds later, shrimping, and we're like, "What the fuck? It's a thing. Look it up. It's gross."
Don't look it
No,
up.
don't search that.
Right now, and I'll read it to you momentarily. Bear with me, please.
Oh no.
Google just got bombarded with everybody asking what the fuck shrimping is.
No one Google it.
Charity has like never been above 2% of GDP in almost like every
No, I'm not.
country in the history.
This is not a top-down
social programs are actually effective at reducing poverty. Only work when everyone pays into it.
What I'm asking about is your right to demand that other people pay for the thing that you want, which is you want homeless people paid for. You're not willing to do it yourself. You're a hypocrite. You don't do shit.
I'm not.
Oh, come on. That's not even bad at all.
I already explained to you why I'm not a hypocrite, because I think these large-scale social programs only work when everyone
absolutely
that's what I want society as a whole to pay into them. That's not a hypocrite.
You want to force other people to solve the problems
you
that you
already
won't
said
solve
the
yourself.
interstate program was effective. How is that also not stealing?
No. You're a hypocrite. You want other people to pay for the problems you want credit for solving.
Oh boy.
You want to take other people's money because you think you know what to do with it better than they do, which is you think that they should use their money to solve those people's problems. You are not willing to get involved at all yourself.
Again, these large-scale social programs only work when everyone pays into them.
No,
That's
they work.
why I want
they
everyone
work
to pay
better. They work better. You can't do the whole thing.
They are.
Okay, so
social
if you
programs are generally pretty effective.
if you can't do
can I get an answer to my question? Do you?
No. We're not done with this. If you can't solve the whole, you don't believe in solving any of the problem. It's all or nothing. Perfection is going to end.
I think it is moral to donate to charity. I also think it is moral to have a social safety net and to have welfare programs.
Is it moral Is it moral to steal from people?
If you define stealing as just taxes, then no. Then I don't think stealing is wrong.
I mean, when anybody besides the government runs a tax scheme where they tell you what to buy and then they give you what you get back, it's called racketeering, and it's what the mob does.
Real quick, okay. You
What?
said that you think the U.S. interstate program was good or whatever. You think that was?
I think it was. I think it was.
Do you think that was stealing? Just real quick, do you think that was stealing?
I think all taxes is stealing. Yes, that was stealing.
All taxes.
It was one of the better. It was one of the more efficient programs. It's one that's still in use today. It's one that wasn't. It's one that was. No, I don't think it's not morally justified. It might be economically more efficient, but that's a different thing from moral justification.
Okay.
You understand that, right?
No, I understand. It's weird to me. Like, do you think that it was?
Why is it weird to you?
Do you think it?
Why is it weird to you?
I view morality as like a utility maximizing.
You do.
Thing,
so then we should kill off the disabled people.
No, because I don't think that's utility maximizing. That's easy.
Of course it is.
Nope.
How is that not utility maximizing?
People who have a right to life, and I think society's a lot worse if we. I do think negative rights, by the way.
Okay, so there's your morality. That's your morality. Objectively, disabled people are nothing but a drain on the economy. It would be more efficient to not have them.
I don't only care about the economy. I care about sentient beings, right? So I also think.
So now we're working. They're different things, right? We got morality and we've got efficiency. They're two.
I understand. Yes, I know. I understand.
So you don't want to kill people, but you're cool with stealing their shit.
I don't think it's stealing, but I think you can define it as stealing.
It literally is stealing. It's exactly stealing. How does it not meet the definition? Let's look up the definition
of what?
Of stealing, of theft. Theft.
I don't know, taking something that you're not legally entitled to.
Because you want it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Taking something that you're not legally entitled to, I think, is probably some definition of theft. But I can accept the premise that taxation is theft or whatever. I just think that doesn't make taxation bad.
You don't think
You
it's
have to justify why taxation is
wrong?
actually bad. Why it's not a utility maximizing thing. I think that obviously, absent a social safety net, absent a taxation and redistribution system, there will be some people who are just totally fucked over. There will be disabled people who are just totally fucked over and won't be able to buy food. There will be single mothers. There will be, you know, times in recession where a lot of people are fucked over because no one can get a fucking job. I think that's horribly immoral, and I think it's more
people
moral.
People are going to be fucked over either way, right? Somebody's getting fucked over.
But I think one world is better than the other on the whole. I think the world in which there is some tax.
I understand. That's my point exactly. You think you know better what people who earn their money should do with their money because you're a hypocrite and a narcissist.
It's not true at all.
But here's something
that I support. Yes, I think are utility maximizing.
Here's something that you need to understand.
Programs I support involve taxing people.
Do you understand?
I don't think it makes me a hypocrite at all. By the way, telling people how to use their money, whatever, it's not like, I think it's more moral for Jeff Bezos to donate to a charity than it is for Jeff Bezos to, like, I don't know, kill a bunch of dolphins. I don't think that's a controversial.
Wouldn't it be most moral for you to fuck off of his money altogether because it's not yours?
Because I don't believe in the fucking NAP, bro. I don't know, like, I don't know what to tell you.
God, I wish that I would so steal shit from you if you were close to me. Do you understand that an institution, a government, whatever, that starts off in step one not respecting individual human rights will never respect them all the way up. So if your first step is to disregard someone's individual rights or right to property by stealing from them, that ever after that they're not just going to disrespect human rights once and then be all good after that. You know that, right?
I mean, I if I don't believe that you are entitled to, if I don't believe in desert theory, like you're kind of fucked here, right? Because you understand, I fundamentally don't believe that you have these innate individual rights or whatever. Or certainly, even if I grant that we do have them, it doesn't mean that it's utility maximizing.
Okay, let's not get hung up on whether or not rights exist. I get it. Okay, we could debate that. But somebody who violates your right or violates your ownership of your property, they're not going to start respecting you later. It's like if a chick cheats on you, she's probably going to cheat on you again if you let it slide.
I think the U.S. government right now does a pretty good job at respecting rights for the most part. Maybe not under Trump with these summary deportations that we're getting, but if I fundamentally, you understand from my utilitarian evil perspective why this isn't really a issue for me.
Well, I understand that you have self contradictions within your perspective because you think you're a utilitarian who thinks it's atrocious to kill disabled people, but
you recognize that that's not a contradiction, right? Because I don't think it's utility maximizing to kill disabled people. You recognize there's no contradiction.
There's no way that keeping all of these mouth breathers alive.
Wait, can I just get you to say the sentence? You think it would be good for society as a whole if we killed all disabled people?
No, because I have more. My morals are consistent the whole way through. No, I believe
the government agrees with that.
You think it would be utility maximizing to kill all disabled people? That's an unironic position.
No, I think that if you're a utilitarian, you think that.
If I may, for 1 second, the irony is that the young fella here, I mean, I'm elaborating. I assume that he understands that they're going to take your resources by force, and usually at the point of a gun.
Presupposing
hold on,
entitlement philosophy. I have a disagreement with the entitlement philosophy.
Be respectful, young fella. I'm just trying, dude. I'm fast. All right. I don't want to disrespect you.
Condescending.
I'm already trying not to hit on you, so stop. All right.
Oh my God.
Well, once I figured out he was legal, I'm like, all right, it's fair game.
No, 10th man just won.
Congratulations.
Understand you're saying the government's going to take these resources by force.
Just give me a second.
You understand? Wait, no, I want to answer this. You understand if I don't believe that you're entitled to those resources in the first place, that's not a problem for me, right?
You don't believe in ownership of property?
I agree with Flo that he should steal your stuff.
I don't believe in
just listen. If the government is going to use the point of a gun to take your stuff, that's why that's Joe. Story. So that's why Flo's use. I'm really tired and stoned. That's why Flo's using the analogy of eradicating the disabled, is because
not why.
Why? How can you not see the parallel there? You're willing to use the point of a gun to take his stuff.
Taxes are not theft in a democracy.
He's trying to use it as a reductio to utilitarianism, as if I haven't heard it before. But like,
That's
obviously, I just don't believe it's. I obviously don't believe it's net utility.
It's not a reductio ad absurdum. That's not.
No, that's but in a democracy,
the whole taxes thing is crazy because our nation was founded on like fighting over taxes, and now we tax our people more than anything. Like,
wait, saying your view entails this crazy thing that we killed.
Yeah, it was over not being taxed without representation.
Right.
Oh, so you think the taxing we have now is represented by the people, for the people, by the people?
Who do you think has a right to something I make?
I think it. I mean, it depends. I don't know if I believe in rights as like this innate, like fundamental thing, but there are certain things
you believe in
that are
some rights. You believe in right to life because you don't want me to take that from disabled
people. What is happening right now?
I believe here's the better way of phrasing it for me. I believe it's
is that we're dealing with a guy that has a 1/4 formed prefrontal cortex, but it's cute. Go ahead.
I believe it's utility maximizing for society to recognize the right, a right to life. I don't know if I would
science
like have any of these rights. I don't know if like.
No, rights aren't things that literally exist, but they're basically kind of loose agreed upon values, right? I mean,
right. So
whatever. It's a filler word. Don't get hung up on the word right. We know what we're talking about. I think, right?
Yeah. So I think it's utility maximizing for society to basically, act like we have a right to life or whatever. I think that's an overall good thing for society. In the same way, I think it's an overall good for society to tax and redistribute some wealth.
Do you have a right to property?
Oh my goodness!
I would say you have a positive right to property, but I think property rights are generally utility maximizing, and that I think a free market is utility maximizing people.
How can you provide yourself with the means to your right to life to support your right to life if you don't have a right to property?
How can you what? Sorry.
How can you support your own right to life that you believe in if you don't have a right to property? If you don't believe in a right to property, like your own stuff.
I believe in the right to life in the same way I believe in the right to the word right is just not a good word to use.
I don't know what you want to
say. Nonfon, it has nothing to do with what you believe in. It has to do with the statutes and the customs of society over time. Yeah. This is how laws are founded. This is why the law is the only thing we have that keeps us separated from animals in the jungle.
No, it's not.
Do you guys not understand that?
What I'm talking about,
you got tossed in a cell.
I'm asking his personal values.
Right.
He doesn't even know them because he thinks what he believes.
That's what I'm helping him refine.
A general like property right system. I'm fine with saying that. I don't like the word right there.
Okay.
The fact that you guys are having a conversation with Nonfon and you think you're educating him is the funniest thing about all of this.
The fact that you sit behind an animated icon on YouTube and think you have any superiority is a great example of the rights you're disregarding, Nonfon.
The rights I'm disregarding? Okay.
I like to use the word disregardlessly.
No, we love you, Nonfon. Hey, when I see your knees shaking, bro, just like don't even worry about it. This place is brutal. They treat me like a shit on their shoes some nights, but you keep coming back.
I just think it's adorable. You people think because you have a diploma that you're smart.
You're a pervert from Canada. You're a pervert from Canada, and you know how to code.
It's adorable.
Doesn't change anything.
That's not what makes me smart, but that is the challenge that was leveled to me.
What'd you say, Grumpus?
I heard of you people. What do we mean by you people?
Probably.
Wait, did I say you?
Come on now.
Righteous.
Yeah, I heard of you. Like, what do you mean, you people?
Oh God, I hate it when I say you people.
Credentialists.
That you people really gets you caught up in a political cancel situation. You know what I mean?
I've been canceled so many times. I'm a dead man.
Speaking of canceling, gentlemen, I'd love to get your final thought. Oh, damn it, Marathon Kev. All right, I'll stay up. I'll stay up a little longer.
Oh, shit.
I refuse to be on this panel with that man.
Well,
of course, because you're scared of him.
Did you just assume his gender, sir?
You're scared of his masculine black American energy, bro. You're scared of this man, bro.
Wait, is this foundation black American?
Because I just came up to ask one question. This is what Grump said. What the hell you mean, you people? Okay.
Wow.
All right, gentlemen, let's get through our final thoughts. Hornet, starting with you, sir.
Yeah, just to comment on that last conversation. If if you have a social safety net that essentially feeds to the bottom percentage of people, then they feed into the economy, which increases the amount of spending power that company now has, which ultimately benefits them. It's just simple economics. Like when you empower your dollar, that's how it works.
What do you think, rich people?
Well, I thought this was my final thoughts.
Flo, come on.
He can't do final thoughts and open up a whole new can of bullshit.
Well, you guys were talking a lot. Yeah, that's just the simple economics of it all. That's why I don't think that.
My final thoughts are you're gay.
Okay. Oh, based.
I just came thrice.
Remember to hit that like button and go sub up to Avoided Hornet on YouTube.
Clean up your mess, bad boy.
All right, Sarah, thank you for having me on.
Always, Hornet, always. Rob.
Hey. Okay, yeah. It's just been listening to Nonfon here. It's kind of hard to take your moral claims, your value claims seriously. You say you love America and everything, then you also describe yourself as a globalist, which, in my opinion, is completely antithetical. Those two.
Debate me. Set up a debate anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm down. Honestly, I'd be down to do that financial one, whatever you were talking about earlier. I'll throw my hat in the ring. Possibly, I'll Discord message, whatever. But no, so I just don't believe in any of that. It really doesn't work if you're just going to create some massive social safety net, considering we already have one. If you're just going to expand it, it's like, does it really work? Is it really like a net utility maximizer in the way that you think it is? If you're taking away, like Flo says, taxes from the individual who, their property rights are just, they don't really count anymore. If you're just going to keep constantly chipping away at all their finances, doesn't really seem like a cogent position. Yeah, and I just, again, love to possibly do that debate. I'll send a message, but thanks for having me on, Sarah. It's been great.
As always, Rob. Thank you. Effigy to you.
Final thought. You just heard some of the most childish fucking takes on basic society in modern times. Like going back 2,000 years to argue against the fucking idea of taxation is kind of ridiculous at this point. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for having me on. Always great arguing with all you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Effigy. Always a blast having you. 10th man to you.
Started today. Really mad at Trump. Hated him. I recall him explaining, and I don't know everything about history because, like I said, I'm not a rocket surgeon. But he explained that the country of America was set up that there weren't supposed to be taxes. There were only supposed to be tariffs. So if they're going to take your taxes and then they're going to say, oh, go make this movie about penises turning into vaginas and stuff. Let's do that. Then I don't want you taking any money from my taxes anymore.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, 10th man. We appreciate having you on. Grumple Stiltskin to you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh. We're closing. Outstanding. Yes, I am a Grumple Stiltskin on all platforms. On Twitch, it's spelled a little bit differently. That's why I have it there and then there. I just with work, I've not been doing content as much lately. I'm trying to get the things set up to get back into having time for it. The funny thing is, personal earned income taxes on a federal level didn't exist until the early 1900s. How did we ever afford roads before then? Well, maybe we get back to that, but the things don't exist in a vacuum. Tariffs, everything, the short term, it's probably going to be like ripping a Band-Aid off, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. All of these things, we talk about them like they're in a vacuum. You got to look at the big picture and the long term. Some other countries, I won't name the specific ones, everybody knows, they look at things generationally, like, hey, how is this going to impact us in 100 years? That's maybe instead of the United States where we judge things based on this quarter and next quarter. Maybe check that out. I talk about prepper stuff. We use zombies as a catch-all for preparedness and things. I do pew-pew stuff and sometimes games and generally dad advice because I'm old enough to be some of y'all's grandpappy. But Sub to Sarah, hit like on everybody's stuff. I'm live right now. I'm just doing a tech test. Don't do anything with me. Sub to Nonfon, hit like on his. I don't go give Powdered Donut a like also, and send him a super chat because he's probably going to be dusty right now. Mm-hmm. But it's been great, Sarah. Thanks for having me on. I know I came in late. Y'all have a great night.
Certainly. Thank you, Grumple. We always enjoy having you on, too. You're always like the goofy one-liner, throw it in there kind of person. Makes me chuckle. Nonfon to you.
Jesus. Okay. So real quick, tariffs or taxes. You can't replace taxes with tariffs because tariffs just can't raise that much revenue. And also they are still taxes, and they are regressive taxes, meaning they tax the poor more than the rich. When they were used as a major source of revenue, government spending was like 3% of GDP. The government just didn't do much. Secondly, when it comes to this whole welfare NAP nonsense thing, whenever these people are talking about stealing and talking about, taxes or theft or any of this shit, they're jamming into their definition of theft, their theory of entitlement, their desserts theory of entitlement, which is you own yourself and what you produce. I think that it sounds good in theory, just like basically every ideology does. I think it has some very negative entailments, and I think it doesn't really make sense, partly because we don't know what, first of all, we can't even calculate what people produce. That's literally impossible. It's the same problem that Marx's labor theory of value has, by the way, the joint production problem, and you literally can't calculate it. And it has some horrible negative entailments. Look up like the flagpole reductio NAP. If you want to watch me defend globalization on my stream because it increases income, increases jobs, benefits the US, benefits our allies as well, okay, head over to Nonfon on YouTube, NONFON, or Nonfon420 Torch a Kick. A lot of debates uploaded on the YouTube channel, Sarah's in some of them, Grumple's in some of them. As you go, check them out because they're really cool. Thanks for having me on, Sarah.
Thank you, Nonfon. And Nonfon, I have so much respect for you. You're always incredibly intelligent and wise. There's a lot of disagreements I can see why people have on things you say, but I know you come from a place that's definitely well-researched, and I have a very big respect for that. I always appreciate having you on. When you come on, I know the brains come out. So outside of that, everybody, I'm so excited that you made this holiday special especially special. I didn't expect a big showing. I didn't expect a huge panel, but you guys kept it rocking and rolling all evening. Excuse me. Don't forget, you are currently watching, well, some of you, most of you are watching from the Gauntlet. That is now my second channel. All of our open panels will be redirected over to here post debates. So if I have a Mod Monday debate over on the Raging Tomato, pretty soon it will just cut off at the open panel, and open panel will start and kick off on the Gauntlet. So you want to ensure you are subscribed to both of them. That way you can enjoy the chat and so on and so forth and get the notifications. Also, if I'm just going into open panel or shit talking, drama stirring, all of those fun things, I will only be doing that on the Gauntlet here soon. So it's going to be a very big, vast separation of shows and styles, and you'll see that as it begins to happen and come into play. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you for following the redirect over to the Gauntlet. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching from Powder Dusty, Grumple Stillskin, and I believe Nonfon, you're connected as well. We're super excited you're all here. If you haven't liked, subscribed, shared to any of the people that have been on the panel this evening, then you are fucking wrong and you can fuck off.
A long time ago, in a YouTube world full of keyboard warriors, many monsters and trolls lurked in the chat rooms. They thrived on arguments amongst each other until one day, a heroine rose from the ashes. She was made from the tears of beta bitches and the sweat of alpha male gym guys. Throughout the centuries, this keyboard warrior princess showed up in many forms. She slayed many demons along the way. By the light of the moon, she led the simp army into battle. Wielding her sword, she fought through the dark forests. With each new era, the monsters evolved. The keyboard warrior princess grew stronger, with new skills to bring them down. The world around her advanced, but so did she. Her heroism became known to society as technology advanced. And with each new generation, she had to learn how to blend in to keep her identity hidden. Now known as the Raging Tomato. This keyboard warrior princess fights for justice in every debate. She fights for freedom, for moderator bias, and she fights for your ability to battle on an open panel for your beliefs. She protects the Sith troopers from destruction. She fights to create peace among troll wars. She storms the battle zones without hesitation and leaves the battleground with her pockets full of souls. Are you ready to battle your fellow trolls? Are you ready for a moderator to give you time to talk? Are you ready for justice, peace, and a fair fight? Tune in every Monday night to watch your friends duke out their issues, or join the open panel so that you can fight the good fight and find resolution with your peers.
If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.